Hi, in this presentation I will reveal some of the key differences between these two mobile platforms and tell you what to have in mind when adjusting your design from one platform to another. First, I will go through the history of style evolution for each platform. In 2009, it's the great era of skeuomorphism. Android was at its dark phase with vibrant colors and simple flat icons. iOS had more neutral typography and was more skeuomorphic than Android, and you can see that by the icon style, gradients, and background textures. In 2012, iOS is still skeuomorphic, no drastic changes, while Android still has a dark hollow theme, though typography and colors are more neutral than before. In 2015, these styles have blended into a certain flat style. The look and feel of both platforms is more similar than ever before. Thanks to the paper philosophy of material design with layering and shading, skeuomorphism is in a way more present on Android today. So, both platforms have reached the era of flat design, but there are some certain differences in their design philosophy. Material design is more oriented to customizable and fluid interfaces, and iOS has always been more oriented towards simplicity and intuitive interfaces. Their core philosophy is the basis of their specific style characteristics, so let's go through some general style comparison. When using an app, the most important feel the user needs to get is the sense of depth. This is important because the user wants to focus easily on the screen elements which are important for his user journey, like buttons, input fields, list items, and main navigation. Material design is using paper layers, different types of shadows for shallow and deep elements. iOS is using gradients, background blur, color overlays to achieve the same feel. According to the paper philosophy, material design colors are not so vivid. The palette includes a range of default pastel tones with plenty of darker or lighter shades, which are mostly used for action or tab bars, drawers, and other navigation elements, while more vibrant versions of these tones are used for UI accents such as actions, item titles, etc. On the contrary, the iOS color palette is simple and vibrant. These colors are mostly used for icons, text within the buttons, links within the body text, and other UI accents. Regular UI elements are mostly white, black, or gray. There are also hierarchic differences in typographic style for iOS and Android. The typography in material design has a more playful look than the typography in iOS design because of the more dramatic difference in font sizes of headlines, titles, and body text. The iOS has a different, more subtle approach, and typographic style feels more neutral. This is an example of an agriculture management app we designed for both Android and iOS. It is a product of a Croatian startup Agrivi. I will use some of the screens to show you some differences and similarities of the platforms when the designs are put side by side. So about the typographic alignment, it is important to keep in mind that typography in material design is mostly left aligned on the screen, especially when it comes to navigation elements, while iOS is keeping its titles and action buttons centered to the screen. One of the key style differences is the icon style. Material design encourages the usage of filled icons, while the iOS design prefers one-pixel line icons. This is a tiny but important style detail that should be respected when adjusting the app for a different platform. Branding the app also differs from platform to platform. The use of the brand colors and its shades is more dominant in material design. iOS9 guidelines advise more subtle approach to branding, and it could only be visible in the elements like app icons, display screens, line icon colors, buttons, or links. Material design app icons have a bounding box, but the form of the icon can be free because of the transparency inside the bounding box. iOS app icons are limited with a rounded rectangle shape, so all iOS icons have the same shape in the end. Animations are also a great part of the UI design, and there are also few style differences in Android and iOS animations. Material animation style is also a result of paper layering philosophy and contains a lot of ripple effects and dramatic shape expansions. iOS animations are more subtle and natural. The most common effect used when interacting with the UI element is a bounce. Other than style differences, it's crucial to understand the differences in the navigation systems of the platforms for the sake of the natural information architecture. Material design provides a lot of components for hiding the content, and that is okay because it's the way to find out what is important and what is less important in an Android app. For example, Android Drawer is excellent when you have a lot of content. In this case, I wanted to point out all the key features by exposing them in the top tab bar, and I've also put all the less relevant features in the drawer. In Android, tab bar on the home screen is visible only in the top-level navigation, so keep in mind the navigation route should be as shallow as possible, when it is possible. iOS philosophy always puts the content first, and rarely hides anything. That's why most of the apps use the tab bar for the main navigation. Tab bar enables the user to switch easily between the main content and encourages the user to explore the app. Tab bar is always present and it's easy to switch between higher and lower levels of navigation. About the up button and back button in material design, well, this is a tricky one. The up button, the one in the app, in the top left corner, takes you up the navigation route. The back button mostly takes you back to the same screen as the up button, but sometimes it can switch to a screen of another app, if you've switched from an app to app before. And about the iOS back button, even though you can toggle between the tabs in the tab bar, every screen in the lower level of the navigation should have a back button, because it is the only way you can go back in the iOS app. Material design enables action hiding too. You can use the drop-down menus to hide list item actions, or you can use the Fab button to hide a lot of important or related actions. iOS has a different approach. Whenever it is possible, all the actions will be visible. If it's not possible, actions can be found hidden beneath the list item, discoverable on swipe, or contained in the More button, which opens an action sheet with all the options. And this is similar to material design. And the last chapter is about treating the content. If you are designing a component which contains a lot of information and actions, you should always use cards. Material cards look more like physical cards, with shadows and rounded corners, while iOS cards look more like expanded list items. They are full width and often separated by borders. List items look pretty similar on both platforms. The only main difference is that the iOS list item, which leads the user to a deeper level of navigation, should contain an arrow indicator. It is a small detail, but really important for the user behavior. Whenever it is possible, use common patterns for the native elements, such as alerts, pickers, keyboards, drop-downs, or switches. Each platform has its own characteristic look and feel of these elements, and you should respect them because the users are used to them. So in conclusion, however, it can be hard to give up on certain design ideas or UI element styles, always remember to follow the platform logic, use as many native components as possible, customize the screens as much as possible, but always respect the platform logic and the style guides. Thank you.